There's a running joke in our company that you should never give Kevin a microphone if you don't have a few minutes for him to speak. So to honor the format of the Tugboat and having 20 minutes to speak, I decided I was going to use the presentation rule of thumb that you should only have one slide for every 3 minutes. So I brought you 38 slides. So we'll get through these as fast as we can. But my tugboat story started about 2.5 years ago. My business partner and I, we were looking for a way to create a greater legacy for our company, for our employees. And we decided what we wanted to do is give some of the ownership of the company, transfer ownership from us to them. So we were at an ESOP conference, Employee Stock Ownership Program, learning about how to do it and what you needed to do. When my business partner was walking around the conference floor, and he came upon this booth that said Tugboat Evergreen. And he went over and he started talking to the individuals at the booth, and they started talking about entrepreneurship and the 7 Ps, and they started talking about like-minded CEOs. And he stopped them and said, wait a second, that sounds like a bunch of touchy-feely crap. That's Kevin's department. Let me go get Kevin, and you can talk to him. So I went over, and next thing I know, I was talking with Dave and Maria about the Tugboat Group, and they were walking through all the great concepts of the 7 Ps, and the entrepreneurship and the group of like-minded CEOs that learn from each other. And I thought, wow, this is exactly what I need to be doing. Because in my company, what I discovered by talking to them is over the last 15 years of building this company, we had very similar principles in play. And we didn't realize what we were doing. We just did because it just seemed to make sense to us. We have what we call our 4 Ps and 3 Rs. Dave's got his 7 Ps. Yesterday, Chris talked about his 5 Rs. Everybody got P and Rs going on. But when Dave approached me about speaking today, he said, hey, I would like you to talk about one particular thing that you do that I think is kind of unique, that embodies the Evergreen principles. And that story really begins about 2 months ago when I was at a board meeting. And at my board meeting, at the very end, the very last slide I was showing them was, hey, I just wanted to, for your situational awareness, let you know about a couple mentor-protege programs I entered into. I'm now a mentor to 2 great startup companies through the Small Business Administration's mentor-protege program. It's a very formal relationship. And I thought they would say, wow, that's great, Kevin, good on you. And much to my surprise, they did something completely opposite. They looked at me for 30 seconds and said, why are you doing that? And I said, well, entrepreneurial zeal, entrepreneurial spirit, it's pay it forward, it's serendipity, it's the right thing to do. And they stopped for another 30 seconds and they went, nah, you shouldn't be doing that. Stop wasting your time. You got a company to run. And it challenged my thinking about what I was doing and why I was doing it. And I really didn't come to much of an answer. And then you fast forward some time, and I was on the phone with Dave, and he goes, hey, I want you to come to Tugboat and talk about this thing you do called Coffee with Kevin. And I said, okay, that'd be great. I'd love to do that. And we started digging into that story, and he goes, I said, what exactly do you want me to talk about? And he says, I want you to talk about why you were doing that. I said, there's that question again. And it made me really dig deeper as to why am I spending so much time mentoring other companies and having coffee with people that are transitioning from the military and going into civilian life? What's the purpose behind all that? So when I started thinking hard about it, it suddenly dawned on me that more than giving just something to them and paying it forward, in reality, there was something going on for me in the background. And that realization that I came to is that the reason why I'm constantly mentoring others is because mentoring is remembering. When I'm mentoring them, that hour I spend with them is really thinking time for me. It's a great opportunity for me to go back and think about my startup, my transition. What is it that I did that got me where I am today? What were the principles, the values, and beliefs that I embraced along the way that grew my company? So mentoring is really about thinking time. It's about re-examining my company on a day-to-day basis and just saying, what did I used to do, and am I still doing it? And if I'm not doing it, why? And should I just start it back up again? So being an entrepreneur was not something very natural to me. As Dave said, I started out the first 20 years of my life like Brian did in the military. I was in the Navy, not the Air Force. 20 years in, I was blessed along the way to have some really unique opportunities. As Dave mentioned, one was I was a Navy test pilot, and I actually went back and became a Navy test pilot school instructor. My lesson from that one was you truly don't understand something until you have to teach it. The other one was I was given the opportunity to run a product team. And this product team, our job, I was a co-lead with this, with a civilian, and we were chartered with running an $11 billion program where we were going to buy 187 brand new state-of-the-art attack helicopters for the Navy. We were pushing the bounds of technology left and right. And in there, I learned a lot of great lessons about how to run a business, but the government doesn't run business the way the commercial side does. You can't translate everything exactly across, but I learned a lot of great principles along the way. One of them was this concept that everything in life is negotiable except for death and taxes. I found myself often in a room where I was negotiating $250 million contracts as a Navy commander, and sitting across the table from me from one of the big powerhouse manufacturers were 3 Harvard Business School trained professional negotiators. Talk about being outmanned and outgunned. But I did learn the art of negotiation and that everything is negotiable. The other thing I learned was along the way, the technology we were developing was, well, we were pushing the bounds, and some of the technology wasn't working as well as we should in the timeline we needed. So we found ourselves in front of one of the secretaries of the Navy trying to explain what was going right and what was going wrong. And at the end of the meeting, he said, okay, I trust you guys. I believe you. I want you to report to me every 2 weeks on your progress. Keep going forward. Let's make this happen. And as we were walking out of that meeting, an admiral stopped us at the door. And he said, gentlemen, you just saved this program. And I was like, what are you talking about, sir? And he said, on his way out of his office, the last thing the secretary said to me was, I'm going to go cancel that program. And by the time you got done talking to him, you convinced him not to do it. The admiral walked away. My boss, the Navy captain, looked at me and said, Kevin, the only thing I got in my life is my credibility. Once I lose that, I might as well go home. I never forgot that. And of course, the most important lesson of all, whenever you're in a room full of people that are trying to tell you how to do things, how to run your program or run your business, somebody taught me early on, he who has the money has the power. Who do you listen to? The person with the purse strings. Everybody else is just giving you advice. So I took those principles and all the lessons along the way, and I started to think about how to apply them into my entrepreneurial world. I was professionally bruised and hardened. I've gone toe-to-toe with the future chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, toe-to-toe with congressional staffers. You learn a lot about how to handle stressful situations, and you also come to a point where you've met so many powerful people that you're no longer impressed by them. You're not scared of them anymore. Right? 2 redeeming qualities. But when I was talking to Dave about this and said, I could take that Navy stuff and apply it to here, he goes, yeah, no, but there's something different. You're missing something. I'm like, what's that? And he goes, there's a lot of people in the military that have your same experience that you do. Why are you different? Why did they not start a $50 million company and you did? What was unique about you? And I said, that's a great question. Maybe dig a little bit deeper. Because in all honesty, I was a very extreme introvert as a child. I had 2 friends. After school, I go home and hang out in my mom's basement. I didn't go to any parties. I always looked for the easy answer. The only reason why I joined the Navy is because they gave me a scholarship. My parents couldn't afford it. The Navy paid my way through. But when I joined the Navy and I graduated from college, I went off to flight school and I started to do everything opposite of what I would normally do. When the teenager in me said, take the easy way left, I forced myself to go right, constantly right, constantly right, constantly right. And in doing so, I learned that the more times you take a chance, the opportunities just keep expanding. Going to the test pilot school was another great opportunity for me. It really was the school about the art of critical thinking and how to do it really, really fast. You can imagine how fast you'd have to make a critical choice when you're moving that fast, right? So the art of critical thinking was extremely important to my upbringing. But at the end of the day, when I got out of the Navy, I came away with 4 basic principles for my life. One is you absolutely have to you must have true passion for what you're doing to stick with it. If you don't have the passion when time gets hard, you're just going to take the teenage way out. You can't be afraid to say yes. Always turning right taught me how to say yes, even in the face of fear. Always say, don't be afraid to say yes. That's the one reason I think that was unique about me that made me want to start my own business. When people say, Kevin, why did you do it? And I dig in really deep, I say, if you want the truthful answer why I started my business, is because I got really, really angry at one point in my life. And I wanted to do something different about it. I wanted to take control. When you talk to most entrepreneurs about when they started their business and you dig really, really deep, it's for one of two reasons. Something really, really excited them, or they got really, really afraid. And we heard that in a couple of the stories in the last 2 days. You must continuously grow and learn. You truly don't understand something until you have to teach it. If you want to be an entrepreneur or anything in life, you got to be constantly growing and learning. That's why we're all here today, right? To grow and learn. And the last one is you have to have a mentor. Every great business leader, every great person has had a mentor in their life. So don't be afraid to say, I don't understand and I need some help. I took those 4 principles and I jumped out into the business world. And when we started the business, I decided I'm going to start paying it forward. I'm going to start mentoring other people that want to start their own business. So when I sit down with these companies and I start mentoring them, what is it that I remember when I'm talking to them? What are those principles that I grew up with? The first one that I start with every time is this one here. When I was a brand new company, a CEO of another company that was very, very successful, she put her arm around me and said, Kevin, always remember this. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. I think if there is one principle beyond anything else about the secret of running a great business, it's this one. I'm constantly thinking about that. Every time I'm trying to break into a new market, capture a new customer or a new client, or even hire a great employee, they have to get to know you before they like you. They have to like you before they trust you. And it's not until they trust you that they buy from you. How do you get there? And understanding the steps along the way. And you can't go from no to trust. You got to go through like. And it takes time. My mantra is, my rule of thumb is it takes about 7 touches to get known. It takes about 15 touches to get liked. And it takes about 25 to 30 touches to get trusted. It takes time. Trust takes a long time. It takes many touches. A touches is not an email. It could be a phone call. It could be meeting them out in town. It doesn't have to be long. It could be short. It's just that contact with them where they can physically see your face or hear your voice, right? The more you can do that, the better. A simple view on creating trust. Trust is created when your character, your integrity, everything that makes you who you are is combined with your competence in your field. Then you have credibility. Once you establish that credibility and you add in some love and connection, those touches, then people begin to trust you. So if you're trying to figure out how to get someone to trust you, just think about these steps right here. The connection being the most important part. So how do you connect with people? It really comes down to this one simple word. This is something the Navy taught me. Everybody in life just wants to be respected at the end of the day. They want to know what they're doing makes a difference. How do you show that to them? The simplest way to do it is to just show them a lot of gratitude. Just remember that customers become clients when they trust you, but ultimately they become raving fans when they love you. And that's what you want, raving fans. Because when times get hard, that's when raving fans will always be there to support you and not the other way around. Focus on the good actors. A lot of times in our business, we're always focusing on the people that are causing us the most problem. 80% of our time is dealing with the bad actors. I did a lot of that early on. And then I realized one day that I'm just wasting time on people that are just sucking my life out of me. Focus on the good actors and watch the bad actors turn around when you're not paying attention to them anymore. They're doing it for a reason, probably because they want attention. Make it easy for them. This one's critical with every customer and client. Every time you try to, if you can make it easy for them to buy from you, then they'll do it. And every time you think you made it easy enough, dig a little bit deeper. There's probably just one more thing you can do to always make it a little bit more easy for them. So always be thinking about what can I do now to make it yet just one more step easier for them to buy. Take time to market your competitors. This one is not very counterintuitive. I discovered this one by happenstance. I was so busy marketing to my future customers, and then one day I just turned around and said, what would happen if I marketed myself to my competitors? What if I became friends with them? What would happen? And what I discovered is that instead of fighting over the same small piece of real estate, we actually started to work together to expand the market base. And the relationship just took off. It worked really well. Be seen. For most entrepreneurs, your business day starts when you lock the doors and turn the open sign to closed. It's in the evenings at social events, it's in the evenings at community events where you're seen as a community member, a community partner, where real business gets done. That you want to create trust in the community, you want to create trust in your future client base, be seen. Get out, don't go home. This is the most powerful one of all. Do the opposite. Whenever you're faced with a difficult situation, think about what the most logical answer is. And then consider what would happen if I did the opposite. That's what Brian talked about yesterday with his restaurant. When the virus hit and they said you could just shut down the restaurant, tear down the building, build some condos and become rich, that was a very logical answer. He chose the opposite. Look where it took him. So when you're facing difficult situations, always consider what is the opposite and take that path. Seek out people that believe in serendipity, not quid pro quo. People that truly believe in serendipity will become your raving fans. They'll become your best friends. Work with your competitors on expanding the market. Don't try and fight over the same real estate. Think about becoming friends with them, working together. What would happen if they got a large client and they had to make a lot of, say, cookies, and they couldn't fulfill the order? So they came to you because you're friends now and said, hey, can you help us out filling this requirement? A partnership is a marriage. This is the one I think scares most of my mentors away, my proteges away. When I see two individuals coming in to talk to me and say, hey, we're going to start a company together, I said, okay, but before you get started, let's just get down to the brass tacks. A partnership is a marriage. When you're in a true marriage, you call each other partners. And just like in a real marriage, you have to have marriage counseling. Same thing happens in business. So I say, look at each other. Are you willing to marry each other? Because that's what a partnership really is. And with that comes the one concept. Every partnership I've seen break up, every company I see that fail with a partnership, is for one very simple reason. Money changes people. It amplifies your character. What normally happens is one of the partners will wake up one day and say, wait a minute, I'm doing 80% of the work, and you're getting 50% of the money. That's not fair. When that happens, it's a slippery slope. For my partnership with my partner, I do 80% of the work. But my philosophy is that he honors me with the right to do that. He doesn't get in my way in running the business. He lets me run things the way I want to run them. We could easily flip that around. I could just go to him one day and say, I'm tired, you take over. And he would easily do 80% of the work. So think of it that way. It's not me versus you. We're in this together for different reasons, and one of you has been given the honor of running the company with more effort than the other. Adapt, grow, don't grow, adapt. We did this numerous times in our company where we just took a risk. And yesterday we talked about incremental risk. Don't take big risks, incremental small risks. If you really want to grow your company, take a risk. Invest in something. And once you've taken that risk, it will wake you up and force you to get moving faster. So always thinking about what can I do to work one level up and adapt to that level, which is the act, think big, be big philosophy. Always act like you're the next level up. Right now I'm a $50 million company. But I'm acting like I'm a $100 million company. I'm at the top end of the government small business spectrum, but I just hired an entire middle market staff and I have a middle market board of directors. I'm acting at the level I want to become, and I'm hanging around with the people I want to be. When you're focused on the competition, they're winning. This one gets me all the time. Every time I lose a contract and I start saying, man, that company just, and I start focusing on them, I always have to remember to say, wait a second, I'm focusing on them. They're winning. Always focus on yourself. When you focus on yourself, you'll be more successful. Let them focus on you. And the most important one of all is I tell them, if you're going to be a business owner, it's not easy. We all know that, right? Leaders lose liberties. When you become a certain level in leadership, especially in the military, your time is not your own anymore. You do lose basic liberties when you do that. And the example I tell them is that when I was starting my company and times were really, really tough, I'm embarrassed to say this, but it's true, I missed my son's college graduation because something really important was happening in the company and I had to be there to take care of it. So if you're going to run a business, remember, sometimes you lose those liberties. So today we have a very unique opportunity. I was listening to a webinar and they were saying, hey, Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. We're going to put him back together again, but he's not going to come back together the same way. You know, everybody talks about the new normal. What is that going to be? So if you think about the principles I just shared with you and say, as we start to look around at the world around us, what could we do to make it a little bit better? Can we mentor another company that's struggling? Because in mentoring them, you're actually helping yourself. How about working with your competitors? Have you thought about going to your competitors in your market space and saying, how do we work together to bring it back, to expand it, and not fight over the small incremental pieces that's shrinking every day? Remember that it's all about trust. You got to be seen. Get out there. Get out in the community and talk to the community leaders. Say, what can I do to help the community recover? And be seen as that leader, and you'll build that trust, and that will come back to you. And remember, your credibility is your castle. Once you lose it, you might as well go home. So protect your castle at all costs. Thank you.